All right, so today we are going to be replacing the starter on this is a 1999 Tercel. So this is the last year that they made it in Canada. This one's the sedan. This has the 4-speed automatic. And yeah, if you know these cars, and if you clicked on this video, you probably do. You'll know that the starter on these is actually a real pain in the ass to get to. It's way below the exhaust manifold, and then there's also a bracket on the bottom that holds it in. So I have a new one, and I say new, but I mean new in quotes, because I actually just picked this one up from the scrapyard. Here it is. This one actually did come off a 3-speed auto model, but upon further research, turns out it doesn't actually matter as long as everything matches up. So getting back to how we're going to take the old one out here, it's not going to be a huge pain in the ass, knock on wood. So what we're going to want to do first though is the top bolt. It's really hard for me to show it, but it is somewhere below here. So what we're going to need to do first is we're gonna get the duct out of the way, we're gonna get the airbox out of the way. We're gonna just pop the hose off here, and that'll make things a lot easier. But I do actually have the car lifted up right now. In fact, I might have to lift it up a little bit more. I was doing a brake job on it as well. And yeah, so I will take this off, and yeah. So just for reference, all you got to do to take the vent off is you just got one 10mm bolt here, and then on this side, it just kind of pops off. It's just got like a little bit of a kind of self-locking clip, but if you push these tabs in there, and then there should be one on the bottom as well, it'll just pop off. So we got the vent off here, nice and easy. Just put the bolt back in there just so I remember where it goes. And yeah, here it is. Pretty easy to take it off on this end. And again, it's really just one bolt. So let's put that in there. Sorry, before I forget, I just want to put this in there. Very key, probably the most important step of all, you gotta disconnect the negative terminal on your battery, because you are working with an electrical component that has wires and a ground going to it. So just pop your negative terminal off and save yourself from going to the hospital. So finally got the airbox out. Bit of a pain in the ass. So I'll explain to you what you're gonna need to do, just so that you can save yourself some time. So for starters, pretend it's back in. You got one bolt. It's a 12mm that goes right here, and you can see it's that right down there. And then there's another 10mm up here that just goes right in there. And this little diagnosis port is in the way. You can just slide it up, pop it off. And then aside from that, there is an air hose that goes right there. It's just this guy here. You just pop it off. Sorry, terrible lighting. And then there's an electrical connector, and you can see it is connected there just next to the brake reservoir. So yeah, not fun, but did get it off, so that's good. So I'm gonna put that to the side. And again, I just like to take loose bolts and just kind of lightly thread them in there, because it makes it easier to keep track of. It's good. Doing this is actually a reminder that I should probably change my air filter at some point, because I'm doing all this other shit and I actually haven't even checked the air filter. Could be all sorts of stuff in there. So I'm not sure if I'm able to see the bolt from here, and it's especially hard for me to actually. Let's get this down right in there. Okay, so if you guys can see, it's the larger of the two. Okay, so a little correction here. It's actually the one on the right, and it's a 14. I I thought it was the one on the left, which is a 17, but you can't even really fit a socket in there just because of that plate that's sitting on top of it. So it is the one on the right. It is a 14, and yeah, you do have room to kind of get in there and get it out. So I'll take that bolt off and then we'll go underneath. So here it is, the top bolt. Stupid thing with this starter is that the top bolt goes in from the driver's side through to the passenger side. So the head of the bolt is on the driver's side, but then the bottom bolt, the head is actually on the passenger side. So they're facing different directions, even though if you take a look at it, both of the holes are kind of equal distance from each other, but I don't know, stupid. It's already in a bad location, so you can't expect the bolts to make sense. Anyway, so what we're probably gonna need to do next here is I'm gonna lift it up a little more, and I'll show you guys where that bracket is that you're gonna have to pull off. And yeah, so let's get under there. So we're underneath now, and you can see the starter there. Looks like shit. So a few interesting things about this one, ignoring all the rust. So yeah, you can see the exhaust manifold up there. The bracket that I believe goes from that hole that's up there on the manifold is supposed to come down to some point down here. And it's like this long metal bracket, and it just kind of prevents the starter from moving. So that's already not there, which is weird. Not really sure why, but whatever. And the other thing is the bottom bolt, you can see it there. The head is like snapped off. Either way, we're gonna change it. We're gonna see what I can do about getting that stupid headless bolt out, and yeah, and then try and thread a real bolt in there. So you got your one electrical connector up there, and then beneath that, what is that, like that kind of brownish yellow silicone kind of boot thing. It's not silicone, it's rubber, but behind that boot is your the positive terminal, the power wire. So you're gonna want to take that off, and as well as the connector. And then since I can't show you on this, you'll see the bar when you get under here, you'll see what I mean. You're gonna have to take that off. I think it's like 2 bolts, one on the top, one on the bottom, and then it should just slide out through here. But let me see if I can get this out, and then I'll try and figure out what's going on here. So here's the old one out. Don't be like me. Well, I mean, you can't really be like me just because I happen to have the bottom one broken off for the head. But you do have the bottom one. Make sure that you take this off, the power cable first, because once this is loose, and if you're going, especially if you're going at it with a ratchet, it's a pain in the ass because the whole starter will just spin in the direction you're trying to turn it in. So I ended up using a stubby impact, but that is not necessary. So anyway, let me just go ahead and grab the quote-unquote new one. I'll just put them side by side. So again, there may be good reason for this old one not working, but to be fair, I've also had to beat the shit out of it with a screwdriver since it stopped working. Or since it stopped working consistently. So it's probably not in the best shape anyhow. But as you can see, they do match up. And this is the one off the 4-speed, my 4-speed. And this is the one off the 3-speed. You know, all the labels and shit are completely worn off, but visually they look the same. So it's a fair assumption. Oh, actually, you can see the labels on there. You make it out, and 11170, 11170. So yeah, they seemingly are the same. So next step is I'm gonna try and get that broken bolt out and start putting the new one back in. All right, so it's been like an hour, but eventually got it back in, got the new one in. As for that bolt with the missing head, I didn't have enough space to really get in there and try and extract it or anything. And to be honest, part of me kind of figured, you know what, as long as the top one's in, it'll sit flat and it's not gonna move. And sure enough, put it in, and I put the top bolt in, and it's all good. But as long as you have an intact bottom bolt, again, you just want to remove that that rail kind of guard thing that's in the way. Should be 2 bolts, and then you pull the bottom bolt, and it's up to you whether or not you want to remove the connector first before you pull it down. But it should just pop out, and then reversal is basically just the same. You just put the bottom bolt in first, and then you come up top, and you can kind of you got to go in a bit blind, but there's actually a bit of a, see if I can even show it. When you look down in there, through one of these gaps, you can actually see, you'll be able to see the bolt as it's coming through. And that was helpful for me trying to line it up, because first few times I stuck the bolt in, it wouldn't go through. But anyway, what I'm gonna get, I want to test the old starter really quick. So I've got it down here, so I'll just show you guys. So went ahead and put one of the bolts back in. It's just, you know, kind of loosely in there. Not loosely, but not all the way for sure. And I've got the negative going to my battery, then the positive going here. And you can do, actually, here, hold on. So I'll try and do this with one hand, but again, you have your single connector in there. So get a long screwdriver, and again, you want one that's insulated. And I'm just gonna put the phone down for a second. You're gonna connect your positive cable to the screwdriver, like so. And you're gonna come around here. You're just gonna wanna, touch it to that probe, and you're gonna wanna see if it does anything. So I'll keep the camera on this, and you can just watch. Okay, so that's interesting. So it looks like the solenoid is fine. But now the real test here, so we're gonna disconnect this, take it off, and we're gonna put it on our power cable, or whatever you want to call it. And then what we're gonna really do here is just bridge the connection between that and this. Can I get it? I'm not sure if I'm able to get it right now, just because I'm kind of doing this on a weird angle. Maybe if I put this upright. But this is a way you can kind of test yours if, you know, yours is kind of acting up. So I'll just put the camera on it. So yeah, you just want to bridge the pin on the solenoid to your main cable there. And am I hitting it correctly? Okay, there it is. So that's interesting. So it looks like it is working. I don't have an explanation for that. But what I can say is that this starter 100% was pretty inconsistent with the starts. And yeah, so that is a mystery. Again, there could be some bad brushes in there. There could be that solenoid could be kind of on its way out. It's hard to say. There's a lot of things that could be at play there. But what I'll do is I'm just gonna disconnect this real quick, and then I'll get in and I'll start it up, and you guys can see how the new starter works. So we got our super fancy Toyota key here. Just hop in here and have a listen. A bit of a slow-ish crank. You know, it's definitely not lightning fast, but I'll go ahead and shut it off. Pull the key out. Let's go again. Yeah, so it's not a super fast start, and it does sound like it's under load a bit. But that being said, I'll go ahead and shut it off. That being said, once I'm done with the brakes on this and I'm driving it again, it's kind of a time will tell. But yeah, what I'll probably do is I'll just post an update if this one starts acting up, and we can get back under there and start pulling it apart again. Anyway, that's probably it, and yeah, we'll see if I make another video on this car.